Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. This one is going to be different than anything I've ever posted before, and it's actually about our infertility journey, or better said, fertility journey, because it's our journey to fertility. It's actually going to be a whole series of videos because this story is too long to just say in one video, and it's actually a work in progress, like it's going on as we speak. Why am I doing this series and why did I choose to talk about this topic? I know it's a very vulnerable and personal topic to talk about, but it has been consuming my life and our life for the last almost, I don't know, a year and 9 months, something like that. And yeah, we just want to document the journey. Also, this video is for everyone out there who is dealing with the same problems and thinks that, you know, they're lonely or they're not seen or they are afraid to talk to other people. I'm hoping that by sharing our story, more people will feel, you know, normal, just people and not made wrong or, you know, sub people just because they're dealing with infertility. I also kind of want to, you know, help remove the stigma around this topic because a lot of people don't seek treatment because they think it's shameful, they think it's not natural, they think it's, you know, ungodly to do it with the help of science. So yeah, I feel like if more people talk about this, it's gonna get normalized because let's face it, 10% of all couples in this world are dealing with infertility. So it's not exactly an issue to, you know, push under the rug. Let's say it this way. First, a little bit of background. I am currently 37. I turned 37 in July this year. Ivan, my husband, is 30 and he turned 30 in July this year. When we met 3 years ago, I had just turned 34 and he was about to turn 27. Yeah, 27. We got married a little over a year later. I was 35, he was 28. We started trying in April 2020. I was still 35, he was still 28. To go even, you know, further in my history, I have never been pregnant ever in my life by accident. I didn't never plan to be pregnant before trying with Ivan, my husband. I was on birth control for most of my adult life. I don't know, maybe 16 years, of course, on and off with breaks and stuff like that. But yeah, that was my thing, birth control. And I was actually very proud that I was never getting pregnant. Yay. I never actually, you know, had a reason to check my fertility. I was very confident that, you know, yo, whatever, like I'm 35, like it's gonna work out. It's kind of like the age after which you are considered a geriatric mom, I guess, and every risk of anything becomes higher after 35. But as I was saying, I was very confident in my fertility because I'm me and I don't know, I'm an A student. I was an A student my whole life, so I have to be fertile. I never had fertility issues in my family. My mom was a very fertile person, so was my aunt and my grandma and everyone. I don't know, just nobody had any issues. So why didn't I start trying sooner than 35, right? Well, just like everyone else around us, in your 20s, you try to do something with your life, finish your studies, get a career, and then I waited to be in the right relationship. I spent 7 years plus being in what I thought was the right relationship, but ended up not being the right relationship. And it was a good thing that, you know, that relationship didn't produce children. The right relationship for me happened when I was 34. So we started trying when I was 35. That's what's up. Long story short. So to take this chronologically, we started officially trying in April of 2020, which means I stopped my birth control and, you know, I did some research about what are the good days to try, which is between day 10 and day 20 of your cycle, if you have a regular cycle and assuming you're ovulating normally. So we did that a month. It didn't work. The second month, it didn't work. The third month, it didn't work. The fourth month, it didn't work. And then I was like, okay, I was getting alarmed because I'm not the most patient person. Like, I'm not patient at all. Patience is not my thing. So I found out that after you are 35, you have to try for 6 months before seeking the help of a doctor. So I was like, okay, should I wait 6 months? Well, of course I didn't. I had an appointment booked for the 5th month with gyno in Bucharest. By the way, we were living in Romania back then, which is my home country. And in September 2020, I had my first appointment, geared at seeing what is up with fertility. Parenthesis, during these first 5 months, I didn't do, like ovulation tracking with ovulation strips that you pee on, basically, just like pregnancy tests that tell you or are supposed to tell you exactly the day you ovulate. I didn't do that. We just did this thing of, day 10 to day 20, just try, right? And try often, just to make sure, mathematically, just to make sure that there's always some little spermies waiting at the gate. Anyway, I had also started taking my folic acid, which, fun fact, in the beginning I thought folic acid is supposed to help you get pregnant. I think I thought that for the first month, but of course it's not what folic acid does. It just makes sure that you're not going to give birth to babies with neural tube defects, which is like spina bifida and stuff like that. September 2020, I went to the gyno. She told me what tests I should take to assess my fertility, which was of course my AMH and all the other hormones. She looked at my follicles. I had plenty for my age. I don't know, I think she saw 5 on one ovary and 5 on the other, so that was good. The only thing that my gyno saw on my ultrasound as being not exactly right, but not a big deal, was 2 tiny fibroids. One was outside the uterus and one was in the muscle and was kind of protruding towards the inside of the uterus, but the doctor at the time wasn't concerned about it. Then I had my blood tests done and everything, but I mean absolutely everything turned out normal. All the hormones. Also, I tested for all possible infectious diseases. I had no infectious diseases. I tested for thyroid hormones, so I have no thyroid issues. The doctor also hadn't seen any PCOS or endometriosis or anything. But wait, there's more. One of the tests that I had to do in assessing my fertility and why I was not getting pregnant was an HSG, which is a hysterosalpingogram or graphy, whatever, that assesses the permeability of your tubes. They inject a dye in your uterus and into your tubes just to see if anything goes through them, and if the dye flows in your abdomen, means your tubes are okay. If the dye can't go through one or both the tubes, it means one or both your tubes are blocked. Anyway, so I had this test done, and surprise, surprise, my right tube ended up resulting blocked. Yay. Fun fact, this test actually is not 100% accurate. Because it can show that your tubes or one of your tubes are blocked or is blocked, but it can just be a spasm of the tube and you get a false result and your tube is not blocked. But anyway, for the time being, let's say my tube was blocked. Another homework that the gyno gave me was to have my partner tested, which we did, I think the same or the following month. Basically what a semen analysis looks at is how good your sperm is to fertilize an egg. And so you have various parameters. You have the sperm count, the concentration per milliliter. You have also the volume, like how much semen you produce. You have the motility, which means how many of your total sperm is mobile, like can go and fertilize an egg, because if they're just there and don't do anything, of course you're not going to have any fertilization happening. Another important parameter is the morphology, which means how many of your sperm have a normal shape, like, you know, the bullet kind of shape with like the little tail, like wiggly. And then you also have the DNA fragmentation, which means how many of your sperm have a normally shaped DNA inside the cell, and how many have, you know, a fragmented DNA, which means the DNA is fragmented. I told you I'm not a doctor, but okay. Having the results of the semen analysis was actually the first in the long series of bad news in this journey, because everything, like almost everything, came normal. Volume, plenty. Numbers, plenty. Motility, good. They were moving forward, which was good. You know, they were theoretically able to fertilize an egg. And then I look down and I see morphology. Morphology was 1%, which means out of the total number of sperm, 1% are shaped correctly and can actually like penetrate the egg. Excuse the explicit language, but that's what they do. They penetrate the egg. The other 99% were either like, you know, they have their heads that are round and they cannot enter the egg. They have two tails. They have, I don't know, no head, whatever. They were just made wrong. And then the DNA fragmentation was at the time 32%. What does this mean? Normal levels for morphology are over 4%, which means in order to make sure that you can conceive naturally, at least 4% of your sperm has to be shaped correctly so that they can, you know, penetrate the egg. As far as DNA fragmentation is concerned, you can conceive naturally with at least 85% of your sperm without DNA fragmentation. So your DNA fragmentation cannot be more than 15%. If your DNA fragmentation is between 15 and 30%, you can conceive more or less easily with IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. If your DNA fragmentation is over 30%, the only chance they give you is IVF. And guess what? We had 32%. So there you have it. October 2020 was when we found out that we have to do IVF. Also, disclaimer, I do not want this to be perceived as me blaming the guy, basically, because that's not what's happening. Our 32% DNA fragmentation was just a little over the maximum range where like IUI could have been an option, right? But the reason why my gyno, who was also specialized in reproduction and fertility, told me that we need to do IVF is my age. Okay, so in a perfect world in which maybe I was 29 or 30, we would have had some more time to try naturally. We would have had time to try IUI and stuff like that. Like Ivan's numbers were not like dramatically low. It's not like he had no sperm, which is, by the way, it's a thing for some people, right? It's just there was a combination between those levels being the way they were and me being old, like old. Basically, my doctor told me, I give you until July of next year to try naturally or try some IUIs. If nothing happens by the time you turn 37, because I was already 36, right? You have to do IVF. Fun fact, my AMH last year in October was 5.4, and my doctor told me your levels are gonna drop dramatically in a few months. And that's exactly what happened, because my AMH in June of this year was 2.7, so it dropped by half. So me being old is an actual thing. This being said, starting October last year, when we found out this whole situation that we were in, we went on a rampage of, supplements and trying to improve Ivan's numbers, trying to keep my egg quality, as good as possible. On the other hand, we found out in November that we're going to be moving in December because my spousal visa came out. So since we were planning to move to Houston, this became a thing. The following months passed very, very quickly because in December we moved to Houston, which was, an international move with a lot of things going on around it. In January, we were looking for jobs. In February, we were looking for apartments. End of March, we moved into this apartment. And then, there was a whole struggle of coming up with the funds to afford IVF while also trying naturally because we were still hoping we are not going to need it. At the same time, I started researching clinics and where we could go, where would be more affordable, where could we find a doctor that has good reviews and stuff like that. All in all, I ended up having my first fertility appointment at the actual fertility clinic that we're with at the end of May. I think it was May 27th, 28th. From then on, I thought things are going to happen very quickly, which wasn't the case because IVF is a very long process, even when you do things like, boom, 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 one after the other. Anyway, so May 28th was my first appointment. Of course, the next step was wait for my period, come on cycle day 2, 3, whatever. Repeat all my blood tests that I had done prior in Bucharest, including my AMH and FSH and estrogen, prolactin, whatever, everything. Infectious disease tests and everything. I had to do everything twice. So I did that in June, I think June 14th. June 14th, I did all these blood tests again, ultrasound again. Since my doctor here in Houston also saw my little fibroids that my Bucharest doctor had seen the year before, she absolutely wanted us to have a hysteroscopy. Fun fact, last year I had 2 little fibroids. This year I had 3 little fibroids, but none of them was looking bad. They were super small. 2 were on the outside and 1 was protruding in the cavity. Hysteroscopy is basically a test, a procedure that is done while you're under general anesthesia. They literally go inside your uterus with a camera and they look around to see for any abnormalities like, fibroids and polyps and I guess endometriosis. I don't know if that's a thing with hysteroscopy. Anyway, this being said, with all the tests done, I had my hysteroscopy scheduled for July 14th. Why so long? Because there's a whole waiting list and I guess a lot of people do hysteroscopies. Anyway, so on July 14th, I go to do this hysteroscopy. It's done under general anesthesia. You're not supposed to eat, drink, or do anything that involves your stomach the night before. You're not supposed to wear jewelry. Theoretically, you're not supposed to wear nail polish and stuff, but I have gel polish, so it's not like it's easy to just remove it the day before, but it's fine. It was fine. The results of our hysteroscopy were very encouraging. My fibroid, the one that was in the muscle, the one that we thought was kind of like a threat to a possible implantation afterwards, was not protruding at all. It was not a danger at all. It was not something that was supposed to be removed or anything. My doctor, though, found a little polyp that she took the opportunity to remove during the procedure. Also, she performed a, I don't know the name, I don't remember, a procedure during the hysteroscopy in which they injected ink in my tubes to see if my tubes are really blocked, like, you know, remember the right one was blocked. Well, none of my tubes are blocked. Both my tubes are clear and perfect and ready to go. So we got that thing out of the way as well, because if my tubes had been blocked, I think I would have needed another procedure to see what they were blocked with, because they are blocked with liquid. The liquid can go into your uterus and prevent implantation if you get pregnant or if you do an IVF transfer. Anyway, so none of that. My tubes were fine. So this was it for the first episode of our fertility journey. Stay tuned for what is to come, because the story is way longer than this. And yeah, keep following along. Until next time, bye-bye.